Greetings and salutations. What's up, guys? Thanks for coming. Got a great show lined up for you today. If you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. We have the beautiful Betty Vaughn Lovely. How's it going, Betty? Seems to be late. I think she's at the midget golf course on the back nine, so she'll be a little bit late joining us today. How are the rest of the Ballbusters out there? Nathan, sir.
Very well. To be here.
Hello, hello. What's going on?
I hope
you're
Go ahead, Adam, sir.
I was just saying evening, mate. I'm nice to be here, even everyone in chat listening.
Okay, Paul, can you hear us?
Daddy.
Didn't hear anything from Paul. Did you hear anything from Paul? We've also got Owen.
No, I didn't hear.
Welcome to Ballbusters. Such an enthusiastic.
This is a train wreck.
Yeah, re-log in, Paul. Come on. Okay.
How's it going out there, man? How's it going out there in England land? How's the weather? We always go through the weather, man, so we got to check the weather in England. So, Adam, you're in the middle of the Midlands?
I'm in the east of the Midlands, and it's absolutely lovely. A little bit cloudy, but if I disappear, it's because I'm going to have my tea outside next to the shed. So, end up diving to the mic, excuse me. But yeah, it's that nice. Al fresco dining this evening.
Wait, that sounds really good, man. What's on the menu?
I think we've got antipasti, so cold meats, cheeses, honey, spicy prawns.
Look at you. That sounds great, man. Of course, wine, right?
Yeah, I've already started that. So I can take no credit for any of that, Marie.
So what's your favorite? I know you're a wine connoisseur. What's your favorite wine? I know it probably differs with the food types or no food, but what's your favorites?
I'm not talking food with food because obviously that's matching stuff. I would go for a Sauvignon Blanc Marlborough from New Zealand. It's like black curranty and are very, very quaffable.
It's what?
That's my favourite. Quaffable, as in you can drink a lot of it very quick.
Quaffable? Did you say quaffable?
That's what I heard.
Let me turn up my sound again. Say that one more time.
You've made me doubt myself. I'm gonna look up quaffable. I'm gonna.
You did say quaffable then.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Quaffable meaning. Definition of quaffable: of a beverage easy and enjoyable to drink. There you go. Suitable for being quaffed. Especially of wine.
Quaff.
Old English.
Quaff you.
Look at you,
Merriam-Webster.
Oh, that old English.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
Quaff you.
Quaffing right now, mate.
Yeah. It's like you said, learn something new every day. I never heard that term before in my life, but cool. All right. Nathan Oakley, sir.
This is going to be an interesting show for me because I almost was involved, which is to say that I got a Skype call and it was explained to me that I was part of a Harvard intellectual types paper. So, all right, wow, that's really interesting. And then I got no, it's a different Nathan.
Yeah.
So suddenly I had no part of it anymore.
Yeah, because I trusted the person who found the article. They immediately Skyped me. And he said, Nathan's in it too. And I said, really? So before reading the paper, I took their word for it and just called you. And then while I was calling you, while it was ringing, I was, shuffling through the article and I come across Nathan Thompson. So he boned me.
And it was like, oh, it's Nathan Thompson. Get the hell out of here. You're no use to me,
That is
Nathan
a
Oakley.
damn lie. That is a lie. As soon as I said, "Oh, Nathan, it's not about you," there go. Okay, I gotta go now. I'm like, what? You were right in the middle of something, man. You had to run. It was pretty funny. Yeah.
I was doing something very dangerous.
Yeah, I bet. Yes, sir. Chocolate, sir. I'll be back to you, Nathan, in a moment. Chocolate, sir.
Yes, sir.
What kind of wine are
Going
you
on?
quaffable with?
I'm not much of a wine connoisseur, so
Ah,
I wouldn't know. I'm not. My wine standards aren't up to par with Adam's. They're quaffable over there, so
so what you're saying is they don't drink a lot of wine in Georgia.
well, maybe some do. I don't.
Yeah, they do a little different drink.
Yeah. I'm
Shine.
outsider. I'm still a New Yorker from New Yorker in living in Georgia now. So
Yeah, but you become
I'm a rookie.
acclimated. The culture takes you over after a little while, right? How long you been down there?
yeah. Almost 2 years now.
Yep.
I'm creeping on 2 years.
I can hear a little bit of the accent, a little bit of the twang coming in. Yeah.
No way. I'm still a New Yorker, bro. Hey, forget about it. Hey.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Neil.
Shout out, Neil.
Yeah, good to be here, man.
Go, Arwen.
Good to be back on
Oh.
Ballbusters. When was the last time we were live?
Oh, wait a sec. 2 weeks ago, I forgot to ask you how the weather in Georgia today.
Hot.
Yeah.
Pretty hot, but not too hot though. It's nice. It's like 70s. By in a few hours, it'll probably be up to like 85.
Yeah, you're gonna have to convert that to Celsius for our European friends, brother.
I don't know what that is. Celsius.
Yeah, you need to do it. Go ahead and go it real quick and then convert it. I'm not going to do it either. They're always complaining.
They're always complaining.
Yeah, they're always complaining because I always tell them how hot it is, and they're like, "Well, that doesn't mean anything."
Use metrics.
24. It's about 75. 8 is about 26. So, what a lovely day.
It's been warm
Okay,
here. Very
24.
warm and moist.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, Arwen. Who's beeping?
I don't know.
Might be me.
Stop beeping, chocolate. All right, Arwen. How's the weather? We're gonna make this real quick. We'll get it concise, but we want to know what everyone on the panel's going through here. So, how's the weather in Dutchland?
The Netherlands. Yeah, it's beautiful. Couple of clouds, but it's mostly just warm summer's day, but kind of moist. You know, the weather's been varying a lot. Just a couple of days ago it was kind of cold and cloudy, but yeah, you never really know. And yeah, I'm personally enjoying a organic wine from Spain. It's the Shiraz. I don't know.
Right.
It's organic wine.
Is the Shiraz quaffable?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Very good.
Once I figure out what that was again. But nah, it's a good one. I've been drinking it for a while, and yeah, it doesn't have any bad aftertaste or after effects. Haven't gone really sick on it because of any other situation, and yeah, it's a good, nice wine.
Is it a
like
sipping
it.
wine?
I drink it in small glasses, and yeah, I wouldn't chug it all. You know?
It's not a chugging wine. Like
Exactly.
MD 2020, that's a chugging wine.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Fortified.
Again?
Fortified wine. It's not like a different kind of. Mad Dog is like a very American depot drink out of a bag drink, right?
Yes, very much so.
We just call it 2020. So if you've ever heard of 2020, you'll know what Mad Dog is.
It's what you used to when you drink it on the pot when you're a teenager.
Exactly.
I didn't even know you guys had it over there in England, man. I was unaware.
It was it's like 15 in it, that Nathan, drinking Mad Dog 2020.
So why
I'm
are
full
we
of
here? So we went over it. We're good on the wine front. Why are we here today?
Rhetorical.
No.
A Harvard intellectual type has written a paper and he's included you, and what I gather is lied too strong a word.
On a couple of instances, I'm going to leave it with the audience and they can make the judgment, but we're going to go over 2 instances where that might possibly have occurred. Yes.
Okay, so it'll be for the audience to decide if what you have presented to you is. I'm now going to be describing it a lie or a couple of lies. But yeah, that's down to the audience, as QE puts it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, what happened, and just to let you know, the article I put it in the description box of this video, so you guys can go snatch it from there. I think it's at the bottom of the description box. Also, this is a Ballbusters. Remember, anyone can join the panel, and as long as you're polite, you keep all your points concise, and you can support your claims. That's fine. We're going to be, like I said, we're going to be going over the paper. I'm not going to pull the paper and go step by step. I've already pulled the citations out that I want to go over. We're going to start out with the 2. He did mention me 3 times, 2 times with false accusation. And like I said, we're going to deal with those 2 errors right out of the gate. Then expose, right after that, we'll expose the science acumen as woefully inept. Both generally, then specifically with gravity, followed up with the Coriolis effect. So that's going to be the run of the roost. Nothing surprising here or shocking. The only thing that's probably surprising or going to surprise you is a university professor of his caliber and what he says. I think that's going to surprise some people. We'll see how it goes. I'm not ready to do it yet, though.
Was it surprise or delight we'll get?
Nah, I think for me at this point, it's not going to surprise anyone. It's definitely not going to delight too many people. It's going to expose even the bourgeoisie of the Baltard religion, the intellectual elite coming from academia. It's going to expose them. So more or less, if they're exposed, then what's the condition of your average Joe Baltard out there? And I would venture to guess it's not too good. So that's what I'm trying to juxtapose here. Nothing.
Is this on question? Is this on par with a professor claiming that hearing that water vapor being a gas, the dumbest thing he's ever heard? Is it on that type of caliber?
I'm gonna let you guys make that call. We'll see.
That.
Yep.
Sure.
Now, I do want to say that this article, I think, was published in archive.org on March 31st, if I'm not mistaken. And it was within the first week, it was quickly brought to my attention. I didn't find it. Somebody else did. They do periodic searches on different databases, and they punched in my name, and voila, I would have never known, right? So somebody out there was on a university server and found this. So it was more or less a fluke. I wasn't the only one mentioned in this paper. Ballbusters Bob, Nathan Thompson, JM Truth, Boocat Word, and one other person I can't recall now was mentioned. I'm not here to speak to those, but what he said about those, even though I was sort of broad brushed in with the group, and that's one problem I have. That's not the only problem. But I'm just going to deal, like I said, he mentioned me 3 times. Once was okay. I don't have a problem. Listen, if you're going to cite me or quote me or do anything in a research paper and it's factually accurate, I don't mind. I'm not going to speak to it, right? Because he was right on point with that. But the other 2 are what I'm going to bring out because they are problematic to say the least. And you're going to see that relatively quickly here. Any other comments, questions, concerns? We want to beat around the bush for a couple more minutes before we get to that, or it's up to you guys. I'm in no hurry.
Now we're just eager for a baller blood here.
Let me see what we get.
That's metaphorical blood, by the way, for the audience.
Wait, you alluded to earlier there, John, that there were other people in the paper. Have you? Man, are you saying that there's certain things you defend what the professor said and certain things you'd agree with in relation to other people's statements? I assume he cited them well, or is it just all? Does he have any points?
No, he did. He did make a citation with me, and I'm like I said, I'm not concerned with the others. I let a couple of the others know. I'm sure they're gonna know after this anyway. They were.
That's what I mean. Could you build a defense for them? Could you do is what I'm asking.
I didn't think about it. I just concentrated. I was being selfish with it, but I don't know if I could build a defense for them. I don't know. I haven't looked into. I know their background, but the particular points, I don't think. I'd have to look at it a little bit more closely.
I'm obviously not talking about the individuals. I mean, and obviously, this guy will have taken some of those prominent earthers that he cited there and taken some of their statements and tried to attack them. And I'm not interested in the personalities. I mean, statements themselves. There's just as many boner attacks at logical things that have been said by others. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, like I said, I'd have to go through. You'll see the context here right out of the gate, and you could probably make that call. It'll be quick.
I'll be honest. I'm keen to get on with it.
Okay.
I'm keen to the context being put forth to the audience, not just so that other people who are also mentioned get to hear their name mentioned and go and look into the context for themselves, but more that, you know, if there's inaccuracies, this is the time to highlight them. And I'm keen to hear them highlighted. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, we can roll. We can roll. Last call before we roll.
Just one quick question. Did you get a mention in this paper then, Nathan, or QA in terms of?
No. Nathan Thompson did. I didn't.
Nathan Thompson. Lost it.
All right.
I'm done rambling, John.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to roll. Mic discipline, guys. All right. Here's the paper. Like I said, I linked it in the description below, and it's in archive.org. Now, remember, archive.org is not a peer-reviewed site. It's just a repository. People could put papers in there. I'm not going to go through the requirements to go through archive.org. Just so you know, it's not peer-reviewed. But this is titled Meteorology and Oceanography on a Flat Earth, and this is by John P. Boyd, Department of Climate and Space Sciences and Engineering. He is a university professor at the University of Michigan, right? And this is the paper. Like I said, it's linked in the description box below. And here he is, John P. Boyd, education. He's got a PhD, a Master of Science, and a Bachelor of Arts from Harvard University. So he's a Harvard alum. You can see his little spill. You could punch in this stuff into Google and get this stuff right off the web yourself if you like. Little spill about him. John P. Boyd is a professor emeritus of atmospheric. We're going to stress this word here in a second, and you'll see why. And oceanic science at the University of Michigan. He taught atmospheric and oceanic dynamics for 42 years. He has published 4 scientific books, with 2 more forthcoming. He has also published 20 science fiction stories and 250 academic journal articles in geophysical fluid dynamics and applied mathematics. He was elected a fellow of the Society for Industrial and Applied Mathematics in 2020. Atmospheric. I'm going to start stressing this because I think it's hilarious. Not only hilarious, but it's a death knell. Whoever mentions this word again, I want everyone on top of this. So, let me explain it. Atmospheric. This word right here is a contradiction in terms. This is a compound word, so it's a contradiction in terms. Why? Atmo is air. Air is gas. Spheric is a shape. So it's gas spheric or gas shape, right? We got a problem here, folks, because a quintessential characteristic or tenet of gases is they do not have definite shape. From Chem Libre text, like liquids, gases have no definite shape, but unlike solids and liquids, gases have no definite volume either. I hope everyone gets this. Yeah, it might sound pedantic, but it's critically important that you identify even the common terminology or phrases used are inherently contradictory. I'll go over it real quick again. Atmo is air. Air is a gas. Spheric is a shape. So you got gas spheric or gas sphere. You can't, or gas shape. You can't have that because gases don't have definite shapes. See it, folks? I hope so. Oh, before I continue, I just want everyone to know that when I was identified in this paper and my staff let me know, I was told, because I was going to call him immediately after I read through the paper, and they kind of suggested against that, and for me to use a third party as a liaison, because I might be a little heavy on the hand. So that's what I did. I did not say anything. I did not contact his email. It is up here. I did not contact him. I let the third party contact him and let him know that there was a challenge to his paper, that we would like to discuss it. He declined. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. I haven't talked to the gentleman, either in text or voice, but he was challenged because we were challenging his paper and he declined. Just want everyone to know that before we go forward. Now, back to my atmosphere. Go ahead.
Just on what you just said there, I mean, kind of awkward to me, because when you're discussing a gas and both its shape and volume, the gas aren't determined by the gas, they're determined by its container.
Yes, sir.
If you were good by a shape but and a volume, it doesn't come from the gas. The definition, the gas, the parameters it works within is defined by its.
Yes, exactly.
As natural law.
Anybody else with any comments on this? Like I said, it sounds pedantic, but go ahead, Chocolate.
Just using the word atmosphere is begging in question. You're already assuming that gas has a shape.
No, it's not
that way with that word.
No, it's not begging the question. It's contradictory. It violates the law of non-contradiction.
Yeah.
What if we just said?
Either way, it makes no sense. Because
Exactly.
gas doesn't have a shape, like it says right there.
What if we just stated that the container defines the gas? pretty much.
The container not the container defines the gas. That it
Okay,
doesn't
maybe that's
it doesn't define the gas. It takes the shape of the container. Liquids and gases take the shape of their respective containers. Yes, that's true. I got that. But all I'm saying is that the word itself.
That's the difference.
Again?
A liquid will take the shape of the container, but its volume will remain the same.
Yes.
A gas will take the shape of the container, but its volume will also fill containment, whereas a liquid won't do that. You've
right.
Only got...
Correct. That's what the definition says right here also, yes.
Right, and that's also my emphasis. So the gas volume is very much going to be defined by the container itself.
Yes, that's true. Yes, exactly. Yeah. All right. Now, I stress this. Nathan, you got anything on this? I know it sounds pedantic, but I think it's really important.
It reminds me of a piece in Yes Minister, or maybe it was Yes Prime Minister. The Permanent Secretary is explaining to the Minister, if you've got a policy that has a very troubling section to it, put it right on the front page. In fact, make it the title. In this instance, we've got a scenario where you can't have gas pressure without a container. Their fundamentalist religious zealot belief is that you have a ball of gas in a vacuum, not dispersing in violation of natural law. What do? Title it that. This contradiction in terms, or violation of the law of non-contradiction, which is far more eloquently put than I. That's how they do it. They give it the title. So Atmo shape. Why? Because it's not dispersing into the vacuum. Yeah, it's the shape of Atmo. It's just the contradiction itself in the title.
Exactly. Yep. All right, here we go. Here are the two. These are the two main issues. Besides the science, this train wreck science acumen, we could get to that. But the two main problems that I had with what he mentioned in the article are coming up here. They are both on page 35. And I will cite him here. This dinner plate through the water analogy was endorsed by the prominent flat earth evangelist. I love that colorful language. Nathan Thompson, J.M. Truth, that is Joshua M. Gennari, and Quantum Eraser, John Stunya. In an online discussion, 60, he cited it, they preached the hurricanes as the sun wake theory. Unfortunately, their illustration, figure 12, doesn't really matter. May be justly renamed the figure of 6 errors. I don't really care. I have never even spoken of the dinner plate through the water fiasco, much less endorse it. You can go to his little citation 60 up here, and those words never come out of my mouth. In fact, those words have never ever come out of my mouth. I didn't even know. I think I seen the physics girl do it a couple years ago or something, because that's what he mentions here. A blood object like the dinner plate used by physics girl. Okay. All right. I've never mentioned physics girl. I never mentioned this dinner plate through the water fiasco. So, sir, we have a problem here, me and you. I can't speak for the other people. I can only speak for myself. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, one of two conclusions are possible here. Number one, Professor Boyd is a stone-cold liar. Or number two, Professor Boyd is a sloppy researcher. I will leave it with you fine folks. Mike, discipline, please. The second problem, also on page 35, he calls Globebusters Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters, Thompson, J.M. Truth, Quantum Eraser presentations are devoid of computations, order of magnitude estimates, and anything resembling a quantitative description. I don't know. Maybe in Harvard they make up words. Quantitative right here. This isn't a word. Quantitative. I know that's being a bit pedantic, but we're talking about a Harvard grad, Harvard alum, University of Michigan professor, I'd expect more. But I digress. We're going to get back to the point about these presentations are devoid of computations. Sir, Professor Boyd, a couple weeks ago, I had this presentation on my channel. This most assuredly discusses order of magnitudes. It's right in your face. This is telling me that you just broad brushed me, right, with those other folks. You haven't watched any of my presentations. Here it is right here. About half of the presentation goes over orders of magnitude. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, one of two conclusions are possible here. Number one, Professor Boyd is a stone-cold liar. Or number two, Professor Boyd is a sloppy researcher. I'll leave it with you fine folks. Questions, comments?
I'd say sloppy researcher. Typical baller.
What the hell is the dinner plate through the water? What is that?
It's something the physics girl did. I remember seeing it. I think it was a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But he did some dinner plate. I was watching her do it, by the pool. I don't know.
What?
Oh, okay. It's just a stereotyping fallacy. It's just bundled you in with a load of people having not looked at any of your presentations and then said, oh, they wouldn't have looked at orders of magnitude, so I'll just slap that in as a... Is it just so he can stereotype us? Is that all it is?
Say even his cheap insult, Nathan, that he throws. I think it's at Nathan Thompson, Earth Evangelist. Oh, that's on. I'd quite happily take that as a compliment. An evangelist is somebody that brings the good news promptly. I'll quote it for urgency because the souls of people are at stake. Well, disagree with that. Thank you, mate, for stressing why we're here and the importance of it as we unpick your lies.
No, he called us all flat earth evangelists. That is Nathan Thompson, Jam Truth, and Quantum Eraser. So all of us.
I think I'd lump myself in with that. I don't think it's not talking about Christianity. It's flat earth evangelism, and there is an urgency to the message. There is a I don't see that as an insult, but again, it was aimed like that. But it shows a level of research that if you're going to bother to insult, mate, cut the meaning of the word, because I took that as a compliment.
Oh, well, it's connotatively stating that we're religious, in other words.
No, because he pre-qualifies it with flat earth evangelism. So to me, you take the vigor, the desire, and like I said, the underlying meaning with regards to a Christian evangelist, which is that, Jesus is the Son of God. He's applied it to flat earth. So he's saying, but it's the same. The evangelism is for the savior of our souls. As I think Nathan's show that was on this afternoon, one of the ballers was saying, why are they hiding this from us? And it's by the creator. I would say there is a level of evangelism that I'd happily admit to. I do want to stop people, their lies, hiding the obvious evidence of a creator.
Yeah, I
see it as.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Why are they writing paper? Why are they including you guys in the papers? Like, why are they writing about you guys? Are you guys that important now? Are they nervous? That's my thing. Like, what are you guys doing? Why y'all focused on flat earthers? I don't understand. I thought this was stupid.
We're getting drawn into science, guys. Science.
Uh-oh. It sounds like nervousness to me.
They need us.
Yeah, that's just speculation. I got you. It is still speculation.
Yeah,
we're trying to divine their motives. It's not that far out of the realm to do that. I just don't want to spend a whole lot of time with it.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Sure, but there's something afoot. And I noted that Flat Earth Evangelist, it's not a big deal. He's trying to denote that we're dealing with religion here, folks, but he's just projecting because his ball-tard spinning space monkey religion is the actual religion. So he's just projecting. He's pulling the old Hillary Clinton on us, right? That's what I'm getting. It didn't sit well with me. I'm not quaffable with it.
It's not quaffable.
Yeah, that's probably about.
This drink is sour?
So those are the first two right out the gate. That's what really it pissed me off. Right now, his third mention was okay. He cited me correctly. I was explaining the Coriolis effect, and he painstakingly did that. I have no problem with that. It was accurate. He really didn't have too much to say about it either. You know, he just put it in his paper. There's not too much he could say about it. He did say something about it indirectly, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through, we're going to see where this gentleman's science acumen lies. Take his general science acumen, which is really quick, and then specifically with gravity and the Coriolis effect. So, last call, any comments on the first two problems, whether he was lying or sloppy research?
They're both.
Yeah. I guess it really doesn't matter, does it? All right, let's roll. Mic discipline, please. All right, from page 3, Professor Boyd says, a cosmology in which the Earth is a flat, non-rotating disk of finite size is irreconcilable with mainstream physics. Number one, well, the only one. Cosmology is demonstrable pseudoscience. I know that hurts a lot of people, and you guys laugh at that out there. I understand that, but your laughter is based on ignorance. So, and see, here comes the cowbell. See, I'm not only saying it, I'm going to support my statement that came before it. You baltards need to learn how to do that, because here comes the cowbell. You ready? Please post one viable scientific hypothesis in the entire history of cosmology. Or show science without hypotheses. That's the cowbell. That's what makes my statement, cosmology is demonstrable pseudoscience, have some weight behind it because of that second statement. Go ahead.
I'll back you up.
Agrees.
Just going to back you up and say I've been asking that question as part of the housekeeping questions for nigh on 12 months, maybe even longer. And while we've had people try and present scientific evidence, it never is.
Yeah, you'll never find one because cosmology is not science. That goes for its twisted sisters, astronomy and astrophysics. Also, paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, whatever that is. And yes, I'm still laughing. And freaking, I can't even believe I'd have to say this. Theoretical physics is in the name. Also, there's no such thing as mainstream physics. He says mainstream physics. What does that mean? Well, a qualifier. There's only physics. That's all there is physics. Not mainstream. You don't need a qualifier out here, right? An adjective before physics, right? It's physics. Period.
No, John, that is exactly what you say. A qualifier, something that makes the sentence try to have some relevance. And I'd agree with it. A cosmology in which the Earth is flat, I wouldn't agree with the disk, with which the Earth is flat and non-rotating, is irreconcilable with mainstream physics. It's not reconcilable with physics. Their model's irreconcilable with physics. Our model has problems with mainstream physics because it's built
Pseudo-physics.
built on so many assumptions. Yeah, and mainstream physics. Whatever that means, it means they're
mainstream
religious.
meaning pseudo. What it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Pseudo.
Yep. It's mainstream. It has this has religious overtones, doesn't it? Mainstream? Yeah.
What it means.
All right, let's continue. On page 34, flat earthers almost universally believe, you're real close to a stereotype fallacy here, brother. Real close. Flat earthers almost universally believe that Newtonian and Einsteinian theories of gravity are totally wrong. Number 1, Isaac Newton never proposed a scientific theory in his life. He never proposed a colloquial theory either. Number 2, Einstein never proposed a scientific theory in his life. He did propose 2 colloquial theories as in abject conjurings, SR and GR, that's special relativity and general relativity, that have been summarily annihilated. I'm going to do it again. Here comes the cowbell. So Einstein, relativity, special relativity, and general relativity, via different mechanisms, speed versus gravity, can dilate, bend, and warp time? Really? Primary school falsification. Time is a conceptual relationship between 2 motions. Specifically, it's based on an alleged single rotation of the Earth on its axis in respect to the sun a day. It's a concept. It's non-physical. It is without chemical formula and structure, charge, mass, momentum, or spin, milli-electron volts, kcals, or kilojoules. It has no dimensionality or orthogonality, no direction or location. You can't put time in a jar and paint it red. I mean, come on now, let's reason together, people. You can't dilate, bend, or warp non-physical concepts. Can't do it. It's insane right on the surface. Is it your contention that if you have poison ivy on the brain, you can scratch it by thinking of sandpaper? Freedom is a concept also. Can you bend that? That which you are using to measure isn't the thing you're measuring. A football field is 100 yards long, but a football field isn't yardsticks. If I bend a yardstick, does the football field bend also? So, if something, say, affects a cesium atomic clocks, or any modern clock for that matter, does that then ipso facto mean the Earth's alleged rotation in relation to the sun is affected? These 2 mytho-mathematical fairy tales were falsified 30 seconds after their respective publications by 3rd graders at recess, for goodness sakes. In total, each are massive reification fallacies on nuclear steroids. Grown-up falsification, quantum mechanics. I don't really need to go through this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So, non-locality, there's a brief synopsis right here. I'll give you it. Non-locality occurs due to the phenomenon of entanglement, whereby particles that interact with each other become permanently correlated or dependent on each other's states and properties to the extent that they effectively lose their individuality and in many ways behave as a single entity. Because of this well-established phenomena in 1935, which pummeled Einstein's fairy tales, general relativity and special relativity, into the incoherent oblivion, Einstein coined the phrase spooky action at a distance. Then he and his buddies conjured a thought experiment. It's called the EPR paradox of 1935. That's Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, in a feeble, clumsy attempt to debunk quantum mechanics. Why? Well, he couldn't have anything traveling faster than the speed of light, folks, because then his speculations would implode. Side note, he never published in physical review letters again because he didn't appreciate the paper being peer-reviewed. That's just a side note. Because of the seemingly impossibility of testing his thought experiment, it apparently covered the pretentious, pompous, pseudoscience, mytho-mathematical philosopher's butt with a calculator and the very public argument between he and Niels Bohr, who was of the opposite position, was relegated to the dustbin of history, never to be reconciled. But then, In the 1960s, John Bell explored Einstein's alleged paradoxical thought experiment and proposed an inequality called Bell's inequality. If it was shown to be false, Einstein and his theories would take a dirt nap. Then John Clauser, a frustrated grad student because of his poor grades in quantum mechanics, was rustling through books and papers in the campus library when he came across John Bell's paper. And that, as they say, folks, is history. Bell's inequality was first violated experimentally in 1972 by John Clauser and Stuart Friedman. In 1982, physicist Elaine Aspect experimentally jacked it yard forever. Therefore, Einstein and his theories, speculations, equal dirt nap. He got debunked. Ever since Aspect's falsification, non-locality has been confirmed by experiment over 3,000 times without exception. Let's pile on. David Bohm, renowned professor of physics, and Einstein's personal friend. One can see that relativity and quantum mechanics, the two most fundamental theories of matter, really directly contradict each other. In the sense that relativity is local, it's causal, it's determined, it's continuous, and quantum mechanics is just the opposite. So when you're out there and you're comparing and contrasting quantum mechanics and Einstein's theories that they're more or less the same, you're on crack. From Caltech, The Final Contradiction. What an appropriate title. General relativity and quantum field theory are incompatible. And remember, from Professor Shankar, Chair of Physics at Yale, the laws of physics are always quantum mechanical laws. So, if the laws of physics are always quantum mechanical laws, and Einstein's fairy tales stand in direct contradiction to them, then where does that leave Einstein's fairy tales, folks? That's rhetorical, by the way. Let's pile on some more. There are no known solutions for any of Einstein's field equations for two or more masses, folks. There's just not. There's equation, and what are equations? We're not talking science, anyway. But there's no solution for them. From their alma mater wiki, as the field equations are nonlinear, we'll get to that in a minute, they cannot always be completely solved without making approximations. For example, there is no known complete solution for a space-time with two massive bodies in it. Yeah, duh. Everyone knows it. Which is a theoretical model. You have a binary star system. Sure. P.S. You see that nonlinear phrase up yonder? That means the law of superposition does not hold in Einstein's field equations. That is, you can't arbitrarily add additional masses to any of his field equations. Therefore, Einstein's field equations describe a universe with only one mass, or B, a completely empty frigging universe. I'm not joking. Like I said, just like there are no married bachelors, there are no scientific theory equations. For goodness sakes. And this one's slowly becoming my favorite. I like to end it with this. Another tiny little problem from our friends at Warwick University over in the UK. Let's take a listen. The problem is that the equations, that is, Einstein's field equations, require that energy and momentum to be defined precisely at every space-time point, which contradicts the uncertainty principle for quantum states. This is not just a problem at high energies or short distances. It's a conceptual incompatibility that applies in every lab. So, folks, what we're trying to do here, besides pummeling Professor Boyd, is we're trying to get the Balltards to parrot the current pseudoscience, the correct one. Not Newtonian. Einsteinian is the current pseudoscience you need to be parroting. We're going to get you there. It's been about 2.5, 3 years now. But we're going to slog our way through the hedgerows to pull you there. Okay? Questions, comments?
I stole my thunder at that. We mentioned the uncertainty principle, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Stumbled across it. The other stuff I'd like to see a lot of detail on, to be honest, John, and you go through that. But it's that last bit that fundamentally sums it up for me, the difference between the two models. It's cake and eat it time again. But it is Warwick University.
Oh, it is Warwick?
Warwick, yeah.
Did I say
That's where I
Warwick?
live. Warwick.
It's
Spelled
spelled
Warwick.
Hold on a second. It's spelled Warwick. Warwick.
It's really cute the way you Americans say it. No, fundamentally, it's that issue. That's the thing that you don't have to understand all the complex stuff. That fundamental issue with regards to differential with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, differential between the two models, it destroys it. Supported by the other stuff.
Yeah, but the other stuff is fun to go through step by step. I do it more or less for completeness, but I like the last one. I could just hang my hat right there, put my feet up, and pull out the stogie.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Go ahead.
Situation.
Go ahead, Nathan.
We're explaining to the Baltards that they need to parrot the correct pseudoscience. But the way it's operating currently is you've got Baltards parroting Newtonian 105-year out-of-date rhetoric. And they should be parroting the out-of-date rhetoric of Einstein. But we've got to get them from Newton to Einstein so we can pummel them with quantum mechanics. So we're a long way from actually destroying them in this regard because they're so far out of date.
Yes, sir.
But they can take solace in the fact that quantum mechanics proves that the laws of Newton were incorrect as well. So accept that will help them.
I don't think that's going to help, but you're right. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Just one other thing I wanted to add. For those in the audience that may not understand the section where you explained that can't solve for more than one mass. So can you put that into a context, maybe a heliocentric context with maybe some stars or some planets or something, just so the Baltards understand what that means?
Yes.
I mean, obviously, I'll clarify first that we are only talking about conceptual mediums. But nevertheless, what does it mean in that conceptual medium the Baltards think they live in?
Yes, sir. I did breeze by that. I went over that a number of times. That is to say that if you're a Baltard and you walk outside at night and you look up in your heliocentric religion and you ask yourself a question, are there two or more masses up there? If you come back with the answer is yes, guess what? You can't use any of Einstein's field equations for it. You feeling me?
That was going to be my question. If there are no known solutions for it, right? Why would anyone declare that these equations work? If clearly in their model there's more than two masses, two bodies. I don't get it.
Let me ask you this question. How many times, even from the prognosticators of the space-time fairy tale, how many times have any of those people, how many times have you seen Einstein's field equations?
Ever, not once.
You never will. You won't see them from them. You never will.
Riley asked, you wanted me to ask you, is that the same problem as Newton's three-body problem? Or is there...
No. Because in Newton, how can I go about saying it? Theoretically, I'm using this term in a certain context. Theoretically, like I said, the law of superposition holds with Newtonian mechanics. That means you can add any amount of masses you want. It doesn't matter. Theoretically, you could solve for all those situations. However, practically you can't, because the mathematics is just too outrageous. You follow? But
Yeah, I got it.
there's
Is that not a baller position, John? You didn't want to say that, but
yeah, there's no conceptual.
even if you are a baller and accept it, you still can't solve for it.
Yes, there's no conceptual
Yeah, but
reason with Newtonian mechanics. You can add as many masses as you like. Conceptually, there's no problem. But conceptually, with Einstein's field equation, there's a big ass problem. Yes.
So Newton's is not practical. Conceptually, it works. It's not practical. It doesn't work practically. Einstein's doesn't work either way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, the basics of Newton's stuff works, particularly because that's what it was derived from. The data derived from testing of stuff. That's where the data was extracted from that. So basics of it form and are correct, and Boulders will argue that, but at a fundamental level, it doesn't. The mathematics doesn't describe what's going off. Hence, it's not correct. Doesn't mean that if you drop the gram that much damage, those calculations hold true because derived from dropping the kilogram and seeing how much damage it does. So the back worked in premise. The premise mathematically isn't describing reality. Right.
Yes, sir. Anything else? Arwen, any comments, questions, concerns?
Sorry, I'm having dinner at the moment.
That's fine, sir. Paul H. Can you hear us, Paul H?
I can, but it's pretty loud, so I have no real comment at the moment.
That sounded pretty darn good, by the way.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I'm in my truck today instead of the car, so that might be helping it out.
Yeah. All right, let's roll. We're going to take a couple shots here. Again, headed as generals, general science acumen. Let's go for these. On page 28, Professor Boyd. Scale analysis is not a theory. It is more powerful than a theory. It is a description. In a photo of my wife's grandniece, Madeline, her flame-colored curls are not a theory. They are a description. My word. This self-demonstrating, tear-jerking, belly-laughing train wreck of a dumpster fire, Professor, is a screaming testimony of numpty dipshittery. Any idiot can describe something. Your average village idiot on the corner can describe anything that you like. It's a whole other kettle of fish, however, to explain the hows and whys via validating the explanation by experiment. That's what a scientific theory is. Not looking at your grandniece's flame-colored curls, sir. Page 4. Professor Boyd. A crucial assumption of all flat earth theories is that gravity operates on the disk as a force perpendicular to the surface of the disk, accelerating all objects downward towards the solid surface of the disk at 9.81 meters per second squared. So, if anyone was unsure about the level of your science acumen up to this point, mic discipline, please. They surely know with absolute certainty now. There are no flat earth theories, that is, scientific theories, or sphere earth scientific theories for that matter, sir. Why? Well, Professor, scientific theories only elucidate how or why questions. That's cause and effect, relationships via experimental validation. Whether the earth is flat or a sphere is a what is question. Now, isn't it? The topic is non sequitur to the scientific method. By the way, you'd fail 5th grade general science, sir. Page 9. Professor Boyd. This means that the force of gravity on a small volume, Sir, gravity is not a force. Let's go through this again. From George Musser, Scientific American, November 2015. Einstein created his general theory of relativity, which provides our modern understanding of gravity, with the express purpose of expunging non-locality from physics. Isaac Newton's gravity acted at a distance as if by magic, and general relativity snapped the wand in two by showing that the curvature of space-time and not an invisible force gives rise to gravitational attraction. From Caltech, Einstein came up with the theory of general relativity in 1915, the prototype of all modern gravitational theories. Its crucial ingredient involving a colossal intellectual jump is the concept of gravitation not as a force, but as a manifestation of the curvature of space-time. Brian Cox, there isn't really a force of gravity at all. George Musser again, gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. From your alma mater wiki, gravity is most accurately described by the general theory of relativity proposed by Albert Einstein in 1915, which describes gravity not as a force. From the universe of today, in general relativity, gravity is not a force between masses. Strictly speaking, gravity is not a force. University of California, Northridge. From phys.org, according to this theory, gravity is not a force. From New Scientists, so although Earth appears to be pulled towards the sun by gravity, there is no such force. From Phys Libre Text, the answer is that gravitation is not a force between two objects. The physics hypertext book, gravity isn't a force. From Joyland Bluefield, from Cornell. So to summarize, general relativity says that matter bends spacetime, and the effect of that bending of spacetime is to create a generalized kind of force that acts on objects. However, it isn't a force as such that acts on the object, but rather just the object following its geodesic path through spacetime. Calling gravity a force after 1915 is akin to calling fire a phlogiston after 1790, sir. You're only 105 years out of date. Comments, questions?
Where we got that assertion, I know it's not scientifically valid, it's not a scientific theory, it's not gone through the scientific method. You got that from Vsauce. It's not an assertion that flat earthers have made.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're straw manning us as usual. And yeah, it's good to go through all the gravity issues one part at a time with a fine-tooth comb and all the quotes and all that. To just see back, yeah, it's really like that. It's crazy. But it's still being taught in schools despite all of that.
Did he put us in the straw man of the Earth is moving up or something? Did he do that? Did he go that route?
No, it wasn't quite the Flat Earth Society rhetoric that he was delivering. He was delivering the Vsauce rhetoric, in that it's moving to the center of a disk. If you watch the Flat Earth video,
that one
they put across.
Bit I got there, guys, from was use of the, and it kind of related to me specifically, thanks to QE and slapping me and on and like, so it's grasping the reality that you just can't use the validity of science, even though we're scientists and we do things, can't use it validate everything we believe or state. It's a recognition of what we believe is that builds our worldview, what is actually supported by science and what is supported by necessarily untrue, but supported by other forms of logic that we validate that can be just as powerful. But that recognition, and all you hear in those statements is science this, science that, and I mean it's wrong, and things can be wrong, and we zetetically you can look at stuff in other ways, but science is a very, very, very strong way of confirming a cause and effect relationship, and you do realize that you do stop banding it about personally, and that lesson's still to be learned.
Thanks, Adam. Last call before we move on to one of our favorite two subjects at the end.
I got more of a technical question. The geodesic, that does seem to come up a lot. You know, I mean, either in bending of space-time or curvature math, or so. What is it about moving through space-time that makes me traveling in a straight line is actually geodesic? I still don't get that. Can anyone help me with that?
It's the presupposition of the bending space-time that causes you to be travelling along a geodesic. Obviously.
Riley did that. He was teaching me in the week. I've still not fully grasped the graphics he gave, but Anthony gave a really good. That arrows, Nathan. That graphic was cool.
We got a super chat from Flat Earth Travolta, $6.99 Canadian dollars, I believe. The hardest thing is to get people to acknowledge they're being deceived to such a degree that respected people like this will lie about it.
Good point.
Well said.
Yep.
Really easy to fool somebody, not so easy to convince them that they've been fooled.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you very much. Staying alive. Staying alive. You got it.
Right. Also, I don't know, this might be a rumor, but YouTube just said that he got to Fight the Flat Earth to basically, by saying it wrong, get him to basically tell him off that no, it's a law of nature and all that. Like he completely knew it and he just said it. I think the scientific.
You lost me. That's all right. Don't worry about it. We don't want to go down fight the flat Earth route. He got many more problems than the shape of the Earth.
Vacuum of space next to air pressure is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. And then he replied, it doesn't say that, it's a law. It covers it.
Oh, God. We're going to get to that. That's coming. Yeah. That's a great, what do they call? I can't remember.
Segue.
We're going to get to that here in a second.
Switcheroo.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Isn't that like a Looney Tunes thing? The yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no, yes. Isn't it that basically?
Yeah, it's a primer because we're headed right there right now. Let's roll. So, Professor Boyd, page 10. A popular flat earth mantra is pressure cannot exist without a container. Otherwise, the atmosphere would just whoosh away into outer space. This is true, but a physical barrier is unnecessary. What? This is true, but a physical barrier is unnecessary. The pressure force is a force, so it can only be contained by another force. In this case, guess what? Gravity. So, number one, it's gas pressure, not merely pressure. We're not talking about shark bite pressure here. We're talking about gas pressure. Number two, gravity is most definitely not a force. See the pummeling above. Number three, even if I gave you Newtonian gravity at 1 trillion times force and all the Einsteinian bendy space-time you can handle or muster, it wouldn't affect the entropy of gases 1 frigging iota. Number 4, a physical barrier container is absolutely necessary, Professor, against what your train contradiction here. From Elmhurst University, the pressure of a gas is the force the gas exerts on the walls of its container. From sciencelearning.org, the atoms and molecules in gases are much more spread out than in solids or liquids. They vibrate and move freely at high speeds. A gas will fill any container, but if the container is not sealed, the gas will escape. From NASA, the molecules are in constant random motion and frequently collide with each other and with the walls of a container. Because the molecules are in motion, a gas will expand to fill the container. Since density is defined to be the mass divided by the volume, density depends directly on the size of the container in which a fixed mass of gas is confined. Kinetic molecular theory explanation of Boyle's gas law. Observations about pressure may be explained using the following ideas. The rapid motion and collisions of molecules with the walls of the container causes pressure. That is force on a unit area. And that surface area, not just area, surface area. Pressure is proportional to the number of molecular collisions and the force of the collisions in a particular area. The more collisions of gas molecules with the walls, the higher the pressure. And the final dagger from Chem Libretext. Pressure is caused by gas molecules hitting the walls of the container. With a smaller volume, the gas molecules will hit the walls more frequently, and so the pressure increases, more or less echoing the kinetic molecular theory just above. So, I don't know where you're at here, Professor. You're done. Let's jam it on home. Entropy, gas expansion into a vacuum, the mixing of ideal gases or liquids, diffusion, effusion, colligative effects, and osmosis. Each fundamentally involves an increase in entropy due to increased dispersion of energy with no change in total energy in the case of ideal substances due to a greater number of microstates for the particular system involved. So, Professor, what you're saying here is, or what you're propagating or postulating, is that we don't need a container, and you're postulating a decrease in entropy. That goes against the second law of thermodynamics, son. I'm sorry, Professor. Let's stop right there. Questions, comments?
I have a comment. That's one of the things that the ballers are saying now, that gravity does decrease entropy. But the problem is, isn't entropy a function of time and probability at some point?
Gravity
Where it
doesn't
means
exist.
over time. I know. I get it. Trust me, I do.
Yep.
But no matter what, though, but if probability and also time eventually would have to, according to increase in entropy, it would have to fill the available volume, because over time it would just want to occupy all available microstates, correct?
Correct. And nothing in nature trumps the second law of thermodynamics. Absolutely nothing. Anything else?
One of those things where their fairy tale requires is forced to do it. Otherwise, you need to observe the laws of nature. Your average gas molecule in about 500 meters a second. A great number to work with. If we were to look at the collision rates, there would be many a paper if a collision going up and down. I think we can all conceptualize what that means to this. There was a difference. There was an acceleration. That gas molecule that's going down there was a deceleration of that gas molecule going up. The suggested force is going to create this non-barriered containment of the gas. It's possibility of where they fall back to here. It gets to a point that they have nothing for it, and the only thing can comment upon it is science, which categorically says that's absolute
Bollocks?
bollocks indeed, sir. Scary ones.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right.
One other thing, too.
Go
Also, one other thing, QE. If a body is moving, let's say the Earth, so to speak, you got all these random projectile molecules moving in all random directions. Don't you think over time that the Earth would leave some of those behind? Just for the nature of, you know what I mean? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
They're going to some bounce off and bounce away, and then just vanish off into the oblivion.
Yep.
So, but that seems to never happen under the heliocentric model.
But they get homesick, so they violate the natural law to get back.
Ah, they burn their bras.
They do have a number on that, actually. There is excuse hydrogen and helium. That's the most percentage rate escaped gas. Did the numbers, it was ages ago, but I remember doing it, and it's perfectly, as with everything, the amount that they allow with their imaginary boundaries and that it can still get through, even over, I think I did the maths over like 4 billion years. I excuse them a little bit of early formation. Obviously, the full excuse, you can't have the atmosphere in that early formation, but I gave them all of that. It wasn't actually a great deal of amount based on the statement of what they aim, because they do allow and do say that molecules do escape. So much that even over 4 billion years, it was a tiny amount that was inconsequential to the volume of the atmosphere as it's supposed.
So you gave them dirt?
Give them a lot more than dirt, John.
Yeah. A more simple pummeling, if you want to beg the question with gravity. Gravity has only one vector, whereas typical gas behavior has every conceivable vector. So it pummels it right there. If you want to beg the question, right? It's over. Second law
A
kills it.
right-angled collision, John, would no longer be a right-angled collision perpendicular to the ground. Shout out, Bev. Get me? It would no longer, because that level of path would then be subject to an ever applied force, so it would therefore end down, which is just not demonstrated.
It's poppycock bollocks, man. Oh, we're gonna get into some more right now. Let's roll. Page 12 from Professor Boyd. Solid body rotation is a static, hydrostatically balanced flow such that the velocity of the rotating atmosphere, contradiction in terms, at a given point is identical with that of a solid body at the same point rotating with the same angular velocity. You believe he said that? What he's saying here, folks, is the atmosphere rotates in lockstep with the Earth. That's what the translation is. This is pure delusional poppycock bollocks that is in direct violation of just basic gas behavior and the second law of thermodynamics. An incoherent second grader would roll his eyes and his classmates would shoot spitballs at you if you stood up in front of the class and said this nonsense. So if you're of that opinion, no problem. This is what I would do, and just sit back and laugh. Number one, please explain how the Coriolis effect can exist when the necessary conditions for it to exist are two different coordinate systems or reference frames. That is, one rotating non-inertial, that's the Earth, and one rotating inertial, the atmosphere and everything in it. That's the first violation of the law of non-contradiction. Let's get into some more. Number 2, show the experiment where gases or a gas rotate in lockstep with a solid body just 5 centimeters above the surface, then provide the mechanism. You do understand gases have no intermolecular bonds. That's obviously rhetorical. So, do gas molecules attach to the Earth and each other by Velcro, superglue, molasses, pixie dust, other? And, gas molecules, that is air, vibrate and move freely and randomly at high speeds. Here's a good visual here for the spinning space monkeys. I'm not going to pull it up again. I'm sick of pulling it up and teaching just basic stuff. Figure it out yourself. Question: how can gas molecules that make up the atmosphere that move freely and randomly at high speeds, yet, according to the intellectual elite Ballbusters, rotate in unison, that is, not moving freely and randomly at high speeds, with the Earth from west to east? If it sounded like it was made up cockamamie bollocks, you're right, because it's another violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 2. Number 3, please explain east, north, and south surface winds on a spinning ball that has the atmosphere, that is air, wind, and gas. Atmosphere, by the way, is contradiction. Air, wind, and gas rotating with it from west to east. Another violation of the law of non-contradiction. That's number 3. Bonus question: how can you have different wind speeds moving in different directions simultaneously at differing elevations of the atmosphere, all the while the atmosphere is collectively spinning east in unison? That is the same. It'd be easier reconciling married bachelors. By the way, violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 4. By the way, these are contradictory statements. The atmosphere spins with the Earth. And number 2, the existence of east, north, and south surface winds. Not even speaking to the differing wind directions we talked about above and speeds at many levels of the atmosphere simultaneously. Primary school example: lower clouds moving different directions and speeds than higher clouds. Everyone's seen this before. Which do you think is false, number 1 or number 2? Pick one. I hope you pick the second one. Moreover, following the Balder's yarn, every cubic nanometer of atmosphere traveling horizontally from the equator to the center of rotation must have differing tangential speeds. And every cubic nanometer of atmosphere, another contradiction, rising in elevation from each respective horizontal cubic nanometer of atmosphere, contradiction, must have differing tangential speeds. In fact, the higher the elevation, the faster they'll need to keep up. And all of this rolling along at different speeds in unison east. If that sounded like a dumpster fire, you're right, because it's another violation of the law of non-contradiction. Number 5. This is so far beyond preposterous ludicrousness, absurdity, evolution, whatever that is, multiverses, and married bachelors are blushing. And does anyone know how far up this increasing speed, rope-a-dope, fairy tale spinning atmosphere, contradiction, ends? I'd like to see that. It'll give a whole new meaning to guillotine wind shear. Goodness gracious, people. And again, are the gas molecules attached to each other by Velcro, glue, pixie dust, molasses, honey, other? And where is the energy coming from for this continuous shot in the arm, roll up a sleever injection needed to keep each successive cubic nanometer of atmosphere higher elevation brethren in tow? Page 33. Professor Boyd, all of these video makers seem confused about frames of reference. In remarks not quoted, it appears that all understand that there are 2 useful frames of reference: the inertial reference frame of the spaceship observer and the non-inertial steadily rotating reference frame of a ground-based observer. The mistake is identifying frames of reference with physical states. This misconception in turn leads to interpreting a change of frame as equivalent to an acceleration, despite the absence of a force other than the hand of God. Number 1, you can't even get the remarks quoted right. So what are the chances you get the remarks not quoted right, Professor? Number 2, what in the great googly moogly is a spaceship observer? And why do we need one? The inertial reference frame in the Earth system is the atmosphere, contradiction, ya daft muppet. Number 3, please elaborate on the alleged mistake we make because your appeal to physical states as an acceleration, whatever the hell that means, is disconnected, incoherent gibberish. And hand of God? What? You sure you're not from MSU? Making shit up university instead of the University of Michigan? Page 35. The mass of the atmosphere is about 5 times 10 to the 18th kilograms. Yes, Professor and Anna Nicole married for love, and Pol Pot was her florist. You see, I can do the same type of thing. I got no problem with it. I can make baseless assertions with every breath, just like you. Just because you got your alma mater is Harvard and you're a university professor doesn't preclude you or nullify you from the fact that you make baseless assertions. Your whole paper was based on it. Number 1, define mass. We want to see that party because we've been running that party for about 2.5 years now, and it's been fun. No one's defined it, Professor, and neither can you. And number 2, demonstrate every single step how you arrived at this result. By the way, Professor, you'll never ever get to the second question. Just FYI. Page 10, hydrostatic balance combined with the ideal gas flaw. The ideal gas flaw, eh? Do you proofread the rags you publish, sir? Obviously rhetorical. We'll get to the coup de grace here. Questions, comments?
Yes, definitely. So he fundamentally has a misunderstanding of what Coriolis effect is while he's simultaneously claiming we don't understand reference frames. First off, he gave an example that used hydrostatic, and he went on to describe momentums of things. Well, if he's describing something that's static, why would the next sentence go on to describe things moving? That makes absolutely no sense. Secondly, when he gave his example with the spaceship observer, spaceship quote-unquote observer, even in their heliocentric bullshit paradigm, is in the inertial reference frame. At a fundamental level, having a spaceship observer demonstrates that he does not understand what the Coriolis effect is or what it requires, because it is only ever an observation from non-inertial reference frame. There is no spaceship observer. And only that, he's then gone on to detail in his convoluted nonsense about the atmosphere being attached by Velcro. Admittedly, he didn't say that. You just gave the question of what is it being attached to while it's simultaneously defying the fact that it's got multiple directions on the surface. Nevertheless, he's gone on to a convoluted description of how he doesn't have 2 reference frames, in violation of Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, where a ball is apparently deviating from the stands because Earth's rotating underneath as it travels through the air. Or bullet examples that we get, where they claim the Earth rotates underneath, pushes the bullet off target. You'd have to account for the Earth rotating underneath, causing it to seem to deviate. All of these examples are you in the stands watching the football, still attached to a claim to be spinning reference frame. The observation of Coriolis will definitely be taking place from the non-inertial reference frame that's claimed to be spinning in the case of Earth. For him to detail this example with an observer from the inertial reference frame tells me he hasn't got a clue what Coriolis effect actually is. I'm going to tell you, if you're listening, it's an observation from the non-inertial reference frame. There is no requirement whatsoever to detail what is happening to the inertial frame of reference by describing it being attached, negating all Coriolis effect. He hasn't got a clue.
Oh, if you think he doesn't have a clue right now, just wait.
Oh, can I do a shout out for a super chat?
No, you can't.
Missed it earlier.
You can't.
Oh. Okay.
Because hold on one second, Adam. The beautiful Betty Von Lovely is in our presence, back from her back 9 at the Midget Links. Betty Von Lovely. Floor is yours.
Welcome
What
back.
did you say? Back from what?
Are you
Well,
okay?
in the land of the midgets, the tall blonde woman is queen. I would say. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hi.
Betty.
Hello.
Evening, Betty.
Hey, good evening.
What's up, Betty?
Has there been super chats? I've seen 2 in the comment section.
I just stole one
Yeah,
off of
I,
Arwen. Do you want to take the last one?
Yep.
Do I have to take the last one?
Yeah, take the last one. The one that Arwen was going to speak to. I gave that to you as a welcome to the show.
Okay, I think that one is from Flat Earth Travolta. Am I correct? And he says, "This is why Hollywood invented force fields." I don't know what that has reference for, but I think it's a little late, right, for this to comment.
Rakia Life just dropped another one.
Oh, let me go to get it. Let me see where I'm at. Sorry, I have to adjust myself a little bit. And my
Good to
computer is
have you.
slow for starting. Rakia Life, yes. Anyone to go fishing and catch that geometric horizon?
Yeah, we're going fishing. We caught the catfish. Good one. Thanks, Betty. Is that it?
Yep.
Any quick comments or so? Because we're going to get dead into the Coriolis effect from this atmospheric contradiction science.
Just one.
Good.
I like this one. I've been talking molecules, and if you said earlier, John, giving them dirt, I'm about to give a lot of dirt right now. So if we assume spinning ball Earth with an already spinning atmosphere in lockstep, in all of this, and I like to consider these things on a molecular scale because that's really what's important. There's no Velcro, and this whipping effect. It's important, and give you that. Give you the whipping. Have you whipping? Take it. Put it in lockstep. Issue we've got. I think it's in the bit where you talked about violation of the law of contradiction, John. Is that if we have this molecule, and I suppose the best way to kind of visualize it is a heliocentric model. Got the Earth, and we've got this one molecule orbiting. The other molecule comes along, knocks it, considering forces here, and it knocks it out into a distance further, a larger orbit. Now, given all, and again, more data, all the tangential speeds that they keep up, once that molecule is into a larger orbit, it's then left with, this is the thing for me, most fundamental violation, which is the first law. It's suddenly gifted in their world, shed load more energy to account so that it can keep up in a linear pace, so it can keep up lockstep with its downward direction point the Earth. But to do so, it has to acquire energy. It has to speed up, going on a bigger circuit, a bigger orbit.
Yes, sir.
That's, to me, it's a fundamental first law violation.
Right, the catching up effect.
No, not the catching up effect. As I explained this first law of thermodynamics violation in a slightly different context with a helicopter ascending. In order for it to stay in lockstep, it would have to increase speed as it goes up in elevation. Overall circumference that it's traversing increases. But for it to stay in lockstep with the Earth beneath, it must increase speed as it raises in altitude. Adam's saying the same principle applies to the gas molecules themselves. They go up to stay in lockstep, bearing in mind this isn't actually heliocentric rhetoric, even though professors putting this across. This isn't standard heliocentric rhetoric. I'd call this trench level rhetoric. Because this, to debunk this, is to debunk a scenario that doesn't give them Coriolis effect. So it's kind of a nonsense to debunk it. But yeah, to assert this nonsense, to get around the fact that they haven't got Coriolis deviation, they give you a scenario that won't give them Coriolis deviation to justify why they haven't got it. The justification stands in violation of the first law of thermodynamics.
You guys are really rocking with this, and we haven't even hit the Coriolis effect part. Oh my goodness gracious! Wait, yeah, we're gonna hit it. See what I got here. Let's hit it.
Can I add another little comment about the Coriolis effect?
Yeah,
isn't
keep it
ironic that
keep it concise, please.
I will.
Yes,
I will.
Go ahead.
Yeah, isn't it ironic that they've basically, created this system for their model of spinning Earth supposedly, and used Coriolis effect as a cover replacement, like an infiltration that actually explains why there isn't any Coriolis effect, that they hide under the very Coriolis effect, explaining there is no Coriolis effect. That is kind of surreal in a way, I think.
Yep. You're exactly right, Arwen. You got it. That's a little different angle to look at it with, but you're exactly right. Yes.
Here's one other aspect of it too about the gas. Doesn't, under the Einsteinian paradigm, doesn't gravity get weaker the further you go away? So wouldn't that create a problem for them at some point? Maybe.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't exist. Yes.
So a weaker force that doesn't exist can keep it from staying in lockstep. I got you.
Yeah, Einsteinian gravity isn't a force. You see, we're just piling on. There's so many things wrong with it. You're going down. You're on number 10 or 11 debunk when we went home after the first one. It's fun to do. I'm sure you can come up. I'm sure if I sat here, I could come up with 25, 30 against them all, but we can stop, I guess we could go to the first 5 like I did here. I just did that for completeness, just in case there was any confusion. But I really don't do that when I think about it myself. Just one contradiction, it's over for me. I just move on. All right, we ready? You guys are going to love this. Like I said, now for the coup de grace, we have an atmospheric oxymoron scientist that is absolutely clueless about the atmosphere oxymoron. Right? Just in case you're unaware, there's a new term that pops up here. It's geostrophic. It's related to or denoting the component of wind or current that arises from a balance between pressure gradients and Coriolis forces. All right, there's 3 definitions right here. Keep it up for a second. Those that are watching live and on tape, you can see it. They're pretty much the same. So remember the Coriolis effect from Seagar Douglas, Introduction to Ocean Sciences, Critical Concept Reminders. When set in motion, freely moving objects, including air, that's atmosphere, oxymoron, and water, masses, clouds, water vapor, move in straight paths while the Earth continues to rotate independently. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates, they are subject to an apparent deflection called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in a straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. Just this right here debunks Professor Boyd, but we're not going to stop there. From the University of Oregon and the University of Florida, I don't know which parroted who, but both definitions are the same. The effect of the Coriolis force is an apparent deflection of the path of an object that moves within a rotating coordinate system. The object does not actually deviate from its path. It appears to do so because of motion of the coordinate system, right? It's the same thing that Douglas Seagar said above. From Utah State University, the Coriolis force is an imaginary force because objects affected by it are really following a straight path. It is an apparent deflection we see from the vantage point frame of reference of the rotating Earth. I like it. It's short, concise, sweet, to the point, and is echoing the very same thing from the above definitions. California State, the Coriolis effect describes the apparent deflection of an object traveling in a straight line. They got a little lazy with this. I think they could have been a little bit more comprehensive than that. From encyclopedia.com, with in its rotating coordinate system, the object acted on by the Coriolis effect appears to deflect off its path of motion. This deflection is not real. Let me say that again. This deflection is not real. It only appears to happen because the coordinate system that establishes a frame of reference for the observer is also rotating. All these definitions are what the Coriolis effect is. They're all echoing each other. There's no way out. Page 14, Professor Boyd. Coriolis force, anything in brackets is what I added just for clarity. Professor Boyd, page 14. Coriolis force effect deflects the winds eastward, generating the prevailing westerlies. Professor, how can a mere visual effect, an apparent not actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame, cause an actual force in the inertial reference frame? Please, I need to hear that from somebody. Right? Train wreck. Page 18, Professor Boyd. It is the Coriolis force, that's the effect, that causes. I'm going to stop right there. You see the problem with this statement, right? He gets away with it because he uses Coriolis force. Really, it's the Coriolis effect, not the Coriolis causes. The Coriolis effect. He has a little problem differentiating, like I said, between causes and effects. I digress. From page 18, Professor Boyd. It is the Coriolis force, that is effect, that causes the non-zero angle between the wind stress and the surface current. What on earth is that? Like I said, do you know the difference between an effect, the Coriolis effect, and a cause, Professor? Obviously rhetorical, because you don't. The Coriolis effect doesn't cause anything, you daft muppet. And, Professor, how can a mere visual effect, an apparent non-actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame, cause an actual force in the inertial reference frame? How's that possible? Page 23, Professor Boyd. All of the experiments, now this is some cowbell. All of the experiments were on turntables, rotated by speed variable electric motors. All bow before the Lord Coriolis, who rules the oceans and the winds. I'm inspired. Must be those science fiction books you were writing. Number 1, do you reminisce with complete strangers? Number 2, what are the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment, Professor? Number 3, Professor, how in the world can Coriolis rule the oceans and winds when, here we go again, the Coriolis effect is merely a visual effect, an apparent not actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame looking in the inertial reference frame? A, what reference frame are the oceans in? And B, what reference frame are the winds in? What is your name? And why should we listen to anything that you say? That's my question at this point. Page 24, Professor Boyd. These are so named because the Coriolis force, that is effect, creates, here we go again, creates or causes a coastal waveguide similar to the equatorial waveguide. So, Professor, how can a mere visual effect, an apparent not actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame, create an actual force in the inertial reference frame? Yep, I want to know that. You're going to have to tell me that. Somebody's going to have to tell me that, because every single claim that you made is horsepucky. You don't know what the Coriolis effect is. Page 35, Professor Boyd. The Coriolis force, that is the effect, is the apparent, that is not actual, force that appears, not actual, in a rotating frame. It's not the wake of any. You got this right. Professor Boyd got it right. Right here. Thank you. Also for the redundancy of apparent. Are you aware that you just contradicted each of your previous 4 claims, sir? Just want you to know. In your previous 4 claims, you were steeped in exclaiming an actual inertial frame force, sir. Steeped in it. We just went over it. When, which you just admitted, the Coriolis effect is a mere visual effect, an apparent non-actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in a non-inertial rotating reference frame. Right now, you have some serious splaining to do, Lucy. Professor Boyd, page 28. Similarly, scale analysis of the horizontal momentum equations shows that the dominant terms are geostrophic, like I said, balance. The pressure gradient is balanced by the Coriolis force, that is the Coriolis effect. The remaining terms are an order of magnitude smaller. Professor, you just contradicted your previous statement. Now you're back on the crazy train of appealing to inertial frame force. So, Professor, here we go again. How can a mere visual effect, an apparent non-actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame, cause an actual force in the inertial frame of reference? How is that? How can you do that? Because remember, within its rotating coordinate system, the object acted on by the Coriolis effect appears to deflect off its path of motion. This deflection is not real. You're saying the deflection is real. Professor? Professor Boyd, page 28. I can't believe this. Listen to this. I'll go slow. I'm going to repeat it too. At takeoff time, the helicopter, bullet, shell, and the Earth are both motionless in the Earth fixed reference frame. And both are traveling eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour in the spaceship's non-rotating reference frame. Let me reread this for you. At takeoff time, the helicopter, bullet, shell, and the Earth are both motionless in the Earth fixed reference frame. And both are traveling eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour. It's a contradiction right there. How can they both be motionless and then traveling both eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour? How is that possible? And here we go with the spaceship's non-rotating reference. Freaking what? How in the world can the helicopter, bullet, shell, and the Earth be motionless and the Earth fixed when the Earth is spinning at 1,039 miles per hour tangential speed at the equator in your fairy tale bullshit religion? And then both be traveling eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour in the spaceship's non-rotating reference frame. Law of contradiction violation and non sequitur fallacy times 2 from the Black Lagoon. Page 34, Professor Boyd. When viewed from above, viewed from orbit, hurricanes have fluid rotating counterclockwise around the minimum of pressure in the northern hemisphere, but spin clockwise in the southern hemisphere. To a first approximation, hurricanes are a geostrophic balance with the inward pressure force balanced by the Coriolis, that is the effect, because the Coriolis parameter is of opposite sign in different hemispheres. The tangential velocity must reverse sign too. Number 1, here we go again. Professor, how can a mere visual effect, an apparent non-actual deflection, only ever witnessed by an observer in the non-inertial rotating reference frame, cause an actual force in the inertial frame? How's that possible? Number 2, can you scientifically validate the cause of clockwise and counterclockwise spin direction of hurricanes so as to support your poppycock bollocks, please? I want to see that. In conclusion, folks, if an esteemed university professor, Professor Boyd here, and Harvard graduate is demonstrably science illiterate, we could put basic reasoning in there too. then what's the status of your average Joe Baltard? That's the question. What's the status then? What have we been witnessing for the past 5 years? Right? I don't know. It's sure not smelling good out here. I don't know how you can recover from this. I really don't. Maybe call me some names or something. That might help. But this is a train wreck of a dumpster fire of epic proportions. Comments, questions?
I take the opportunity to give people a breakdown, hopefully concise breakdown of what Coriolis effect actually is, if that's okay by you.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to give this example on a roundabout. You will be the observer observing the Coriolis force from the roundabout. Now, you're going to be observing a bullet, and what's going to happen is you're going to rotate on the roundabout, and as you look up, because the bullet's going to be above you, you're going to see the bullet seem to take a curved path. The bullet's travelling straight. Oh, I'm going to change the example. The bullet's actually sat on top of a lamppost. The bullet's not actually moving at all. As you rotate on the roundabout underneath the lamppost and look up at the bullet on top of it, not moving at all, still seems to take a curved path. Because it's moving in the slightest, neither is the lamppost. Because you're rotating underneath. All examples of Coriolis deviation, that would be the not actual deflection of the lamppost and bullet, in my example, are going to take place from a spinning reference frame. With this example, globe Earth assertion is that we see Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect can also be described as a not actual force. That is to say that, in my example with the roundabout, there is no force being applied to the lamppost or bullet. Not moving. In the case of the lamppost, it's concreted into the ground. It still seems to, that would be not actual force applied to it, seems to drift as you turn underneath it. Now, the globe Earth claims the same principle applies to Earth. That is to say that when something leaves Earth, it's claimed to be spinning, that would be a non-inertial reference frame. The reason it's called a non-inertial reference frame is because you making the observation and the reference frame are as one. Or not moving in relationship to the reference frame. You and the reference frame, as one reference frame, if you will, are all rotating together. If you look at the ground, it's not moving. Because you're standing on something that's moving, and something that isn't attached to it is observed, seems to deviate. Now, all of those examples are devoid of any necessity whatsoever to detail bullet and its trajectory, or the lamppost and it's not moving. It's only ever about what you observe of those things. His example, utilizing what he called the non-spinning reference frame of a spaceship, compared it to a stationary reference frame as opposed to non-inertial spinning reference frame. Also described scalars in describing the force of Coriolis. It seems there's also some projection in there. He's levelled an accusation that no scalars are ever understood or utilised, and yet when he's utilising them for a not actual force. Incompetence is outrageous. This guy's a professor. My God.
Yes, sir. That's what you got. Let's go
Can I
down.
make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Those ballers don't like sitting on the bullet. That's all I got to say. They hate sitting on the bullet.
Let's go down the list. Arwen, any comments, questions, concerns?
Right. So is he a professor in science, or is he a professor in science fiction and in literature? Or because this, like, why would he be a teacher with this level of just messing up everything? I don't get it.
Me either.
How do you say the Earth is not in motion and it's in motion in the same sentence?
Yes.
Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how these guys just write this crap and everybody just accepts it. Or is it that they're so just programmed to just read it and gloss over it that they don't see the contradiction here? Like, how does he? I don't understand. How do you think an observation causes anything? An apparent observation, apparent deviation, observation. It's causing something like that their side actually describes as an illusion, and that's supposed to cause hurricanes. I don't. Just laughable at this point. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you.
Say? And this guy, with all the credits that you gave him at the beginning, all the papers he's written, all the science, and this is what he's writing. Come on, this is
Right, he should know better, but yeah, he is on with the baller train, and it's a typical habit for ballers to basically create selective effects that come from the presupposed Coriolis effect. So hurricanes can be caused by it, but airplanes or drones won't deviate. The bullets and thrown balls will supposedly deviate, but again, the airplanes and the drones do not.
No.
So
whatever they want at whatever time they want will be affected by an observation. Right.
Adam, sir, thanks, Chocolate.
Yeah, good.
Adam, sir, are you gestating?
Oh no, I'm in agreement. I mean, it's a cluster screw, isn't it, of contradictions. I was interested with the law of what was it? Sorry, the Coriolis force, which would appear to be only generatable if the atmosphere wasn't in lockstep and there was a slight differential. But again, all of that falls apart. Fine if you're geocentric. If you stick it in the heliocentric model, all of that falls apart when you apply tangential speeds and continuation. Any variance out of lockstep means the atmosphere whizzes off instantly. Heliocentric model. So it's just you could go into each bit and laugh at it, couldn't you? It just is a cluster screw, really, of contradictions and inspiration.
Thanks, Adam. Betty, any thoughts and any admin?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I haven't heard everything what the guy said, so I can't really comment on it. But I've listened to you before that he said that he lied about something, that you were saying something that you didn't. So, I mean, everything else we don't need to know because the guy is making stuff up, right? But isn't it so that these guys need to present a paper each year to keep up credits or something? Or is that the case with these people?
Publish or perish. But he's been going on for many, many years, so he's not in jeopardy of anything. He's got 42 years behind him, so, and he's from Harvard, so he's probably untouchable.
Yeah, but that should not be the case, right? Everybody should be on the scrutiny, basically.
Yeah, and I haven't seen this paper anywhere but archive.org. Like I said, that's not a peer-reviewed site. Not that I'm just saying it's not peer-reviewed. Peer review is not part of the scientific method. I'm just telling you where the paper's from. I haven't seen it anywhere else yet. If anyone sees it anywhere else and it gets peer-reviewed, that's a double whammy.
Wasn't it already presented in some magazine or something? Or is that when it is peer-reviewed that it will be published?
No, it depends on where he gets it published. Archive.org, there is no peer review there. You just have to know somebody. Go ahead, Adam.
Technically getting peer reviewed right now.
I was stepping on you, Adam. Go ahead, say that again.
I was saying, is it not technically getting peer reviewed right now?
No, not in the sense. you know the way, and most people don't know what peer review is anyway. The peer review step at the journals, right? They have a number of referees that take a look at the paper, right? They check it for errors and stuff. All they'd have is a highlighter, right? And they'll either approve it, the editor then makes the call and publishes it, or they'll send it back for any corrections that might be made. They don't do any experiments. They don't test anything here. They just got a highlighter, right?
I'm just saying, respectfully, with their record, the things they've peer reviewed and passed that we've then looked at, I'm much happier with this form of peer review, which is an honest appraisal, not somebody going, which is a nod to authority. Peer review, just looking at it and holding up and scrutinizing the statements, and if there is anything to support it, it's proper peer review. That's what a autodidactic peer review.
I'm wondering, would someone peer review it? If somebody were to peer review it, would they highlight the part where you said the Earth is motionless and moving in the same sentence? Be like, hey, guy, you just said the Earth is not moving and moving in the same sentence. Would somebody point that out to him? Or would they all agree and nod their heads? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Great.
Peers
Brilliant.
I mean, they are a peer review is your equal. My peers around me, you know what I mean? I don't consider them above me. I've no issue with what we're doing as a peer review. We, as demonstrated, at least, if not significantly more educated in the vernaculars that are being used anyway. I have no problem with the term.
So in other words, yes, they would all just agree and say, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Brilliant science, yeah."
And retire to the den as the masters of the universe and sip brandy and smoke cigars.
Yeah, but if they are peers, shouldn't they sort of protect one another for mistakes that someone makes? For example, review the sources, right, and then sort of go through that video. They would have seen that you not subscribe to any of this. What he said, right?
Yeah. The peer reviewers wouldn't go through those citations. No friggin' way.
Yeah, but I think why would you cite something if it's not even correct, and if it's not even corrected that it's not correct?
Because I'm gonna answer you. Because I'm gonna answer you. Because they know, because it's pretty impressive on the works cited or the bibliography page if you got plenty of references in there, right? So, and they could bury certain ones in there because they know that the peer reviewers and you're not going to check up on them. But me, I checked up on them, obviously, because they were directed at me. So I said, wait a second, dinner through the water? Dinner plate through the water? I never said that in my life, right? So I went to the reference and I sat there for...
Dishes, do you?
Say again?
You don't do dishes, do you?
Yeah, I don't do dishes. In fact, Betty and I together went through it, didn't we? We sat here, I went through... Yep. Not a peep about that, Professor. So, yeah, you're busted. It's over. The rest is just... The rest is just gravy.
So that's what baffles me. I mean, if something is being... I mean, if I would do this as a student at school, and I would use references that wouldn't be references, but just sort of a bibliography, and it would look nice, right?
Yep.
I think I would be called out, and they would say, "Hey, do over, or you flunked, you didn't pass the exam," right?
Yeah.
But how high up you go, and the more sort of names you got before, like professor and emeritus and whatever the hell those names are, I mean, the more you have, the less people notice things anymore.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. And before you know it, we're on a flying water ball flying through a vacuum, Betty. Absolutely, yes. A lot of nonsense that just slips through the cracks, and then we find that the numpty dipshits we have to deal with come and parrot it to us. For example, but not limited to, air is not the atmosphere. But atmosphere a contradiction in terms.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are the peers, the ones that are parroting it back to us. They are the reviewers, sort of, but they don't know the.
It's more like a parrot review.
A parrot review, yes.
No, would you class him as a priest? I know this wasn't. We keep saying it's not in a peer-reviewed paper, but ultimately speaking, would he be classed as a priest? He's a professor in atmosphere, right?
Yes.
This is one of their priests. When this guy, who's a professor of atmosphere, says that Earth and atmosphere travel as one with the force of Coriolis in play, then that will be taken as gospel. It's complete and utter nonsense and demonstrates a total lack of understanding of Coriolis effect. But nevertheless, he said that's what Ball Earth does. That's what Ball Earth will be doing because he said so. None of this is scientific. Even if it had gone through the peer review, wouldn't be peer reviewing something that was scientifically valid. To be scientifically valid, it would be subject to systematic experimentation, not bloody peer review of this total twaddle that this guy's punting.
Yes, sir.
But why make a piece like this and just let it sit there? Maybe it will never be peer reviewed, but in the end, we know how historic things get changed, and then all of a sudden, it's there and it's valid, right? I mean, yeah.
Same reason Einstein needed to try and attempt to debunk quantum mechanics. Same exact reason. So he's come across this and gone, well, I can back this off with a hand wave or write a paper on it. Well, then that makes it real. Because in their own minds, having a paper published on it, somebody comes up to him at a dinner party and says, oh, have you heard about this flat earth? Says, oh, I wrote a paper about that in 2020. What a load of old nonsense. That'll be his attitude.
Exactly. And nobody will know that it was never peer reviewed, even if that meant something, or that it has been published ever, right? It's they can find it in the archives, and then it makes it so.
Well, they'll know. If they have a clue, they'll know, because if it's published in archive.org, like I said, that's not peer reviewed. So it depends on if it gets picked up by a journal or he submitted it to a journal. We don't know that. So you'll know wherever you can find it. So it's only recently, he only recently put it on, I think it was March 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So let's give it a few months. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I thought that Robert said that it would be going into some journal. Like, we should ask him. Maybe he knows a little bit more about it, where it's now at.
Well, you can punch it. Just punch the title of the paper into Google. See where it takes you.
Oh, what's the title then?
It is. I didn't say do it now. I was more or less saying, do it when you get a chance.
Oh, okay.
The title of the paper, like I said, everyone can see it. I put it in the description also. It's at the bottom of the description box. It's Meteorology and Oceanography on a Flat Earth by John P. Boyd.
Okay, well, let me snatch it from there.
So we can, like I said, that's ancillary stuff. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it doesn't help him anyway.
No, it makes it worse for him and the journal that would essentially publish it. I mean, if he didn't make those corrections, you'd have to review the article again because it could be different. Remember, right? If they identified errors and he made the corrections, that paper will be different than the one here in archive.org.
Yeah, that's what the digital things, huh? You can change anything.
So without trying to divine motivation, given that there's so many inconsistencies, errors, some glaring, maybe it's self-delusion. Speculate.
Yep.
You can only assume that he believes what is written down. Submitted it. There it is in the archive. So he's not going to write it down because he doesn't think that's correct. Obviously, this guy thinks Coriolis is a force. What an idiot.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Somebody wants to chime in on the peer review thing. Would it be cool if we let people chime in, or
Yeah, we're gonna open it up. This is Ballbusters. Just don't anticipate.
I got you. I just wanted to chime in on the peer review thing. 'Cause
Yeah,
we talked
everyone's
about
going to
it.
get a chance that in here right now. We're going to go down through the list. I wanted to leave it open for Ballbusters to beat around a little bit before we get to everyone.
Gotcha.
If you put the title down, you come to certain pages where it says something. By the way, oh, shit.
Well, we need it from a certain journal. Like I said, we don't need to search for it now. It's okay.
Oh, it's researchgate.net. You can get it. Semanticscholar.org.
Yeah, those aren't peer-reviewed journals. We're looking for journals that are peer-reviewed.
Okay.
We're about to move over to members of the general public in the Discord server. Just give a very quick summary of the two main arguments and the debunkings thereof, just before we move on.
You said you wanted to do that?
Just because I can do it in 2 minutes. So
Go ahead.
without the container, there can be no pressure. Outer space is fake. It's violating natural law, because if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space, as per the second law of thermodynamics. Secondly, Coriolis deviation have a cause, Earth turning underneath, have the effect that is asserted to prove Earth spins. That would be a Coriolis deviation caused by Earth turning underneath, anything not attached to a claim to be spinning ball Earth. If the claim of Coriolis effect is true, Earth is turning underneath, not limited to, but including helicopters, hot air balloons, drones, aeroplanes, you if you jump up and down. And we would observe Earth rotating underneath all of those things. We do not. This is exampled by a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, which takes approximately 4.5 hours. If Earth was rotating underneath, you are traveling west, and Los Angeles would be coming towards you as you are traveling towards it, shortening the flight time to 1.5 hours. That would be the cause of this claimed apparent deflection. The Coriolis effect isn't the debunking. Coriolis effect is you observing something seem to deviate. That would be the cause of it seeming to deviate. And it's seeming to deviate because it's claimed Earth's turning underneath, which would shorten flight times. Thank you.
We forgot one point. Those are both the subjects that he discussed. However, the third one was either he lied or sloppy research. No one has to comment about that. I'm not saying that. Like I said, I left it for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You don't need to comment on that. I think we all know what the score is there. So,
I'm going to retract. Well, even though you've said not to, and it was almost rhetorical, I originally said no. I first said lies, then I said a combination of two. Now I'm just going to say pure ignorance. Demonstrated in his paper, he is ignorant. He doesn't understand the things he's talking about. So it must be the latter, sloppy research, as far as I'm concerned, because he doesn't understand what he's talking about.
Cool. Betty.
Yes.
You've got the con. What we're going to do here is, because we're in Ballbusters, that is, you need to follow some rules that everyone that's joined. All right? They're simple. Just be polite, be concise, no ad hominems, speak slowly, one point at a time, and please support what you say. That's all I ask. Betty, you got the con. Everyone but the Ballbusters. You can go down the list, unmute them, and then mute them after they're done, please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going from the top to the bottom. I'm going to Ryan David first. I'm going to unmute you. Maybe you have some comments. Ryan?
Hi. No, everything that's been said is absolutely spot on. This deception that's gone on for hundreds of years has got to stop. Truth has got to come out. As far as I'm concerned now, there is no debate. It's been proven beyond all doubt. Earth is stationary. End of. It's not flat because we know we've got hills and valleys, but we're all on the same level. So it's a proven fact now to me.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? That was it? Okay.
Yeah. For tonight, that'll do me.
Okay. I'm going to the next person, and that's Brian's Logic. Maybe you're not just arrived. I don't know. You have something to comment on the show?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm not going to have much to say other than it's kind of uncanny that someone who's a PhD and in his position, and so many of these people keep coming out, making complete asses of themselves, saying things that the average flat earther who listens to the Flat Earth Debate show wouldn't say. It's pretty hilarious. Thank you.
Okay.
This
I'm going.
Betty, this is my favouriteest name, one for a long time.
Favorite name?
I assume this is a Portuguese person. Tiano Swanaldo. Brilliant.
Okay. I'm going with him now. Okay, Cryptiano. You have anything to say?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I wanted to make a comment on the peer review side, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I know you guys peer review earlier. I just wanted to tell you guys about a peer review test paper I read probably a couple of years ago now, where they submitted 8 papers to different peer review processes, 4 that agreed with the ideological leanings of the reviewers and 4 that disagreed. Other than that, the papers were more or less identical. And what was really interesting is that they found that the papers that disagreed with the ideological leanings of the reviewers were more harshly marked on all sorts of quote-unquote objective standards, such as grammar, spelling, succinctness, all of these different sections, even though the papers were more or less identical. If you disagreed with their ideology, you were marked more harshly. So yeah, that's all I wanted to mention.
Okay.
It's not a clean plate then. So even with peer review, fundamental ideology is lead bias to empirical results. Is that what you?
Yeah, I mean that seemed to be the findings of the paper anyway. Was that they, when they submitted these papers, they weren't actually reviewed objectively. They were reviewed subjectively, which is the whole point, supposedly, of the peer review process.
Yes, we're not talking about the veracity of peer review, which is a joke. That's a completely different subject. I went over it in the Masters of Science presentation, but you're correct. That just speaks to it. It's all subjective. It's based on the referee's relationship, and it's really key in how people get funded. So there's a money aspect to this also. Just want to let you know. But we don't want to go down that line. All I just wanted to say was this paper wasn't peer-reviewed. That's it. But I agree with you, Swanaldo. Love that name, by the way. I agree. It's a corrupt system. Everyone knows it. It's even documented. And it's based on subjectivity and the good old boy network. Thanks. Was that all you had?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I've got now.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Shout out, Crypto.
I wanted to go.
I had.
But yeah, Aaron, you want to say something?
Yeah, just a little adding to it. I think that the peer review system originally was kind of meant as a public type of judicial approach for knowledge, for science debacles and all that. But indeed, it has just become like incorporated by money interests and all that. So it's nothing what it's supposed to be anyway. Even. So yeah, sorry, that was.
That's what that's what I was showing to me in that paper that he's citing. That's the case. Then fundamental ideology results in perversion of your opinion of the data, and the only way you can balance that, won't ever change for being humans. Everybody's going to have a fundamental viewpoint. The only way you can do that is to ensure that your peer review process has balance in its panel. one way you assure that never happens is to have, John said, a boys' club. Guarantees that the establishment viewpoint remains, and therefore, in the paper, that whatever's then approached will be tremendously viewed not from its criticism, but from its attack on the status quo. It challenges that. This is a big uphill.
I say a massive thank you to the Adam Meakin for my new Lamborghini. So his paper was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works. Or my vacation, plane trips and stuff. Yeah, to islands stuff. We all know about it, right? Okay, let me go to the next one. I wanted to go to Enigma, but he's deaf muted, so I can't go to him. I go to George. I'll mute you. You have anything to say?
Hello, good evening, everyone. No, nothing much to say. To me, biggest toe tag. Well done, Kiwi.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a compliment. And then we go to the next guy, Haribo. I don't know if that's a talker. We'll see. Okay, Haribo. You're muted. Yeah, guessed as much. And then I go to John Shelton, and I'll mute you now. Do you have something to add to for us? I see your green light light up, but I don't hear you.
Hey, John, drop out and come back in.
Shall I go to the next and wait? Go back if he comes back.
We can have a moment of silence.
Oh, wow. Okay, there he goes. Yeah. I have unmuted you, John. Oh, you're very low. Can you get a little bit to the mic and say that you don't want to talk?
Yeah, he said he was good. And John, I got you on 200%. It's as far as I could go. So you might want to check your mic. But thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, and then we go to Nathan Oakley, but I think we have nothing to add now, right? Nathan? Just an in between? Nothing to spam? Okay, we go to Rikia live. Hey, Rikia, what's up? I think he's on his boat.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just got in from fishing, laying down after an early start and long day, so I'll just go back on mute. Yeah, everything. I think the debate is over as well. It's just, proving it to the masses now.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And then we have Rob Keen. Rob, you're muted. That's very interesting. Nope, not a talker. And then we go to C Montreal.
Yes, hi. I caught the part, the Coriolis visual effect, and it's funny how when you ask the ballers, what's your number one proof, they say hurricanes. But how can a visual effect make a hurricane spin?
Only in Narnia.
And La La Land, yes.
And they say it with a straight face.
That's
Hilarious.
what kills me, bros. The professors say this stuff. That's what kills me.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
So, are you surprised now when you get this nonsense parroted? It shouldn't surprise you because you know where they're getting it from.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. Is that all?
I'm good, thanks. Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, then we go to the press Dawn. You're unmuted.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Oh, we're good.
Thank you, Kiwi. I appreciate it. A lot of new information, exhibits the common behavior of the mainstream, how they just take what they're told and run with it. I'm very interested in what the actual magical pixie dust or molasses is, creating this friction of the atmosphere, but every time you try to bring it up with them, they know that there's other winds and other effects going on, so it's not going to be measurable anyway. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, sir.
So not going to be Coriolis effect.
Nathan, nice touch with putting the bullet on top of the light post. They can't say it's moving now, bro.
Exactly. Conserving what momentum? What? It's not even moving, guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have got another guy, and he's called the Rumpus. Let me unmute him. Hi, Rumpus.
Hello.
Hi. Do you have anything to add?
Well, other than the professor with all the quotes that were provided by, or citations provided by John were completely correct as far as I could see. Everything I could see was completely fine there, and John didn't understand anything about the subjects, unfortunately.
That's all for him.
Oh my god.
I find it funny that it's always that you don't understand. That's the rebuttal.
It's a mandatory intro, guys. Come on.
Okay, listen, Betty. I'm gonna give him one more chance. Okay.
Okay.
The rumpus. Hold on a second. The rumpus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any ad homs. I don't want any. I don't understand or we don't understand. Everyone that's listening to this can understand it. Very easy. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on here. So, if you have something substantive that you want to add, we would like to hear it. Keep it concise, to the point. Please, no ad homs, and we don't understand, because we definitely understand it. I'm going to give you one more chance. Go ahead, Betty.
Okay. Mute you.
Okay, let's take one example. You offered the fact that the general relativity can't be solved for more than two masses, and therefore you said that general relativity therefore is invalid because we have two substantial masses in the universe. What you don't understand is that just because we can't solve the field equations for general relativity, it does not mean that does not exclude the possibility of that happening. The field equations are valid. Just because we can't solve them doesn't make them wrong.
I'd agree with you, Rumpus. It doesn't mean they're not wrong.
Exactly.
But
so this
it's
is
funny,
ridiculous,
isn't it? That thing you hang everything on and you say is true hasn't been solved even for two bodies.
Well, the point is,
I know you're using a very, and grammatically you are correct. Is that possibility that the thing that's not solvable could be true? Give you that,
well,
but you know.
Well, the point is we can solve it. The point is we can solve it for simple situations and make approximations where we do end up with the right results. And of course, what we do know is that it will reduce to the Newtonian formulas in simple situations.
It will not.
Near black bodies.
It will not. It will not do that.
It will.
It does not reduce.
Absolutely, it will.
It does not reduce. It does. Einstein's field equations do not reduce to Newtonian. They're completely different geometries, Rumpus.
They absolutely do. There are numerous papers
Okay.
showing
They
this.
absolutely do not. You're done. I'm not putting up with it.
No space-time, Newtonian. There.
All they've got, there's the slim chance that this thing that's not really demonstrated in any way, but all I've got left now is, whilst I agree with you that none of this works, could still possibly be true. Practically incorrect.
Oh,
You
so
can't
the
even-
field equations that can't solve for two or more masses could possibly be true? They're, number one, they're not scientific, and that's an argument from ignorance fallacy. It's over right there. And then I could just sit back, put my feet up, get my stogie, and it's nice Chianti, and say that general relativity is in violation of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and stop right there, and you're finished. That's it.
Look, if he's resting on the possibility that relativity could be, or that was whatever the subject was, that it is provable, yet he can't solve any equations, then technically he's resting on a presuppositional dead end. He's leaning on something that he can't even work with. Kind of a poor thing to
Yeah,
lean
but
on.
that's why they're saying they don't care if he can't solve the more than two body problem, because they could still reduce it down to Newton's math. That's why he's
That's
saying
basically
that.
saying they can reduce it down. Exactly. And they can't. You can't reduce down fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian four space into three-dimensional Newtonian mathematics. It can't be done. Shoehorn in an extra dimension. It's just preposterous. Now, Rumpus knows this. He needs to assert it. I mean, as I said earlier on in this show, we won't ever get to the stage where they even relinquish their 105-year out-of-date rhetoric. So if they can't be asked to relinquish 105-year out-of-date rhetoric and won't move on to the fact that Newtonian nonsense isn't conducive with Einsteinian nonsense, how will we get to them to the point where they understand that it doesn't conform with the current actual rhetoric scientifically valid, the form of quantum mechanics? We're not even at that stage, and he's been removed. You know, he wants us to understand that these two completely out of date pseudosciences can reduce to one another when they can't. It's nonsense, because it matters not. Neither of them are current. Neither of them are compatible with scientifically validated things. It's a thought experiment. The maths can't be solved, but according to him, it can reduce down to Newtonian principles. He just wants to argue about that, because then we're getting further and further away from the fact that both of them are pseudosciences.
Precisely. Well said. All right, Betty, let's go ahead and wrap it on up. We'll go down the list from all the Ballbusters. Final thoughts, channel promotions, what you guys are doing. Let's take it on home. Arwen, you're first.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to say it almost feels like a syntax error when they try to just say, no, it translates from this system into that system. But maybe it's more like a data package error if you're going to use it, computer data systems as a metaphor. Anyway, yeah, my channel is Arwin, Arwijn. I have an early bird show every day at 2 p.m. Amsterdam time before the Flat Earth debates, but also in the weekends live. And yeah, keep up the good work, QE.
Thank you, sir. Chocolate, final thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
No comments. I mean, as we saw, the professor pretty much destroyed himself, as they usually do. It's whatever with these guys. But shout out to you, great presentation. And actually give a shout out to my boy Miggy over at 24/7 Flat Earth Discord 2.0. He's starting a 24/7 Flat Earth arena. Globers are welcome to join in and battle it out as we do. A little bit more hardcore than the regular live stream 24/7. So yeah, check it out.
It's for the more advanced arguments, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and be ready to support what you say if you come strolling on in there, ballers. Thanks, chocolates. That's it.
Yeah, man.
The Adam Meakin, sir. Final thoughts.
Thanks for a nice walkthrough, mate. See orbits. I mean, it was to show that reviewed or not, you know, the level of intellectual honesty, for what the phrase, to go going off in retort, is really quite telling. Even with the rumpus there, you know, the levels they're getting to of hanging on to their desperate beliefs. And I think tonight was another good highlighting of the desperation they'll dip to still believe we're on a in spaceball. Right.
Yeah, can I add something on the back of that?
Yeah, go ahead.
That I didn't really add before.
Yep.
Just yeah, I mean, when you look at what these, and I'll use his word, mainstream scientists, quote unquote, right? When you look at the things they say, you read their papers, and you get into it, you could see like they really have nothing. It's really, you could just tell the pseudoscience coming off of it. You could smell it just reading a simple sentence like that, where somebody with this many credits to his name, and he could just say something like the earth is moving and not moving in the same sentence. You could just catch him out there on it. And then when you see, like, you go out into the world, like when you see Riley battling those two physics students or whatever, right? Or allegedly Dave with that other physics guy that he debated. No, they don't have anything when in comparison to this. I mean, it's all pseudoscience, and I think it's pretty awesome that these guys now. I mean, I didn't even realize this paper is about flat Earth. I didn't really read the title of it, but they're forced, I think, now to have to write about this topic, because that's our enemy, is the pseudoscience. Like, we don't need these so-called ballers to step up and defend it, because it's the quote-unquote model that we're debunking. And I think it's coming, man. It's not even a debate anymore. Like, a couple people said it. This is a wrap, and their pseudoscience is showing all over the place. So that's it. I'm done ranting.
Thanks, Chocolate. Adam, did you want to finish up with anything else?
Well, only to follow on to Chocolate again, he's right. It's you know, that guy's 40 years in the game, whatever John you said earlier, and there's 40 years he spent his life trying to figure out why nothing quite fits. Tries to put it on a spinning ball Earth, and retort to us was to take a straw man and say, yeah, but look, it won't work on a spinning space pizza or a spinning space pizza. He had no argument. And this is the greatest thing with the PhDs, the Harvard guys. It's so enlightening to see what they bring. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing better than what we receive every day from the rank and file. In fact, in some cases, it's worse, which is shocking. Yep. Yes,
it's great to see what they believe, isn't it? These are the elite, and their misconceptions are quite illuminating as well. What holds their bullshit together, what they, you know, and that's the truth. They have to believe that. They don't keep that in their head. They do go, you can't have gas pressure without containment. They know their whole world falls apart. So they don't know. I don't know. I think at that level, it's interesting. Are you just completely living a lie, or are you just so wrapped up in your calculations that you accept that lie? Like we all did, I suppose.
But that's what it is, Adam. They could say that to each other in their classrooms, right? When they're doing their so-called experiments, or where they're talking about it, right? They'll have the gas pressure in a container, like just like the MIT guy, you know, the gas will fill the whole volume, you know, right? They'll talk about it amongst themselves in the classroom, They'll never actually say that to, like, say, a flat earther, right? When asked, how do you have a gas pressure with a container, right? Because they understand that that person is asking in a completely different aspect and applying that to the reality that we live in, right? And they can't just say, oh, yeah, well, we just don't have, we just have gas pressure without a container. Like Danny Faulkner, when asked directly, how did that happen? Oh, he had no response, right? And then when he did have a response, what did he do? He cited somebody that gave us 2 containers. I mean, this is what they got. That's a PhD who did that. Joke. All right, I'm done talking.
You were done a long time. You've been done like 3-4 times, Chocolate.
I know. I don't talk much, man.
All right,
let me talk.
Well done and juicy.
All right, Adam, did you want to finish up with anything? Do you have any anything coming up? Any channel membership? Anything?
Oh, you'll see me about. I'm been about here and there. You'll see me, but no, just thanks, mate. Again, what you bothering to do what you do there? All of us can't have a relevant chip in, so thanks for the effort.
You're welcome, sir. Betty Von Lovely, final thoughts, any admin?
A lot of thoughts and no admin.
Give us some thoughts.
Some thoughts. It is kind of hot in the house. But that's
Yeah, over here too. It's like really outside. It's kind of nice and fresh, but in the house it's still all warm and moist. And
yes, exactly. So I'm thinking about taking a walk, but that's not neither here nor there. It doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm sorry.
Or just open up the window.
No, because my cats will fly out the window.
You got flying cats too.
Yeah, well, then I have.
Then you'll have. That's right. Yeah.
I hope they will be flying because otherwise they will have a lot of soft landing, I suppose.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Before I get to Nathan Oakley, sir, 1 second. The next live Ballbusters will be the end of Soundly. Just want to plug that before I forget. So Soundly's next up on the chopping block, and it ain't going to be pretty. Nathan Oakley, sir, take us home.
Very disappointing, Professor. So if you're going to dip your toe in the water, you need to know what you're talking about. And when it came to Coriolis effect and pressure without a container and citing people, it is woeful, terrible, disgusting, poor, very poor. I'll plug my own show. So I've got a brand spanking new Flat Earth debate, uncut and after show starting on the Nathan Oakley channel right now. So I'll spam the link in the live stream. So if you're in the live stream chat, click on the link and go there. It's starting now. A massive thank you to Quantum Eraser for taking the time and trouble. I know he got a mention, but it's not necessary to go to all of this trouble to debunk all of the aspects of the nonsense that he put out there, even though it was buried. And we're fortunate enough to have beavers out there beavering and they hand this information to people like Quantum, and it means that it's going to get ripped to shreds. As much as Adam wanted to maybe call this peer review, if you want to call this ripping this nonsense to shreds peer review, and by me, it was nonsense and it's been ripped to shreds here today. So I thank Quantum Eraser for having me. Check out Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show starting right now. And, yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, sir. To the audience out there, don't let them fool you. No matter their credentials, no matter their initials behind their name, with their doublespeak and Elmer Fudd sophistry, they're busted. And they know it. Hopefully they know it, or they're delusional. Professor Boyd, sir, you can't recover.